Eric Roberts and his sister Julia are both big stars. They've each earned Oscar nominations. You might think their common bonds would make them close, but you'd be wrong. There's a long history of trouble in their family, and Eric and Julia rarely even speak to each other. Elisa White has the untold story of a Hollywood family rift.
He got his little sister a start in the movies when he got her a bit part in the... But 10 years after the making of the movie, Eric and Julia Roberts are living proof that family ties can be easily fractured. This brother and sister don't even speak.
All like families have communications, miscommunications, and I'm just one of them.
They definitely do not hang out.
What's it gonna take for you two to talk?
In the movie, It's My Party, Eric Roberts plays a gay man with AIDS who's planning suicide. Columnist Jerry Kroll interviewed Eric about the movie and about the Roberts family rift.
Eric Roberts and his sister, Julia Roberts, have a relationship where they're really not dealing with each other at all. And I think a lot of that goes back to Eric's relationship with his mother.
Joyce Wagner, a journalist who wrote the unauthorized biography of Julia Roberts, spent hundreds of hours interviewing friends and relatives, as well as researching court documents.
At the very least, there was friction between Eric and his mother from as far back as probably he was a little child. I mean, they were poor, and there were a lot of fights over money. It was not a happy household.
I've spoken to my mother once since I was 14.
According to Kroll, the family feud began when their mother, Betty, ran out on the family.
His mother walked out, I think, when Eric was a young teenager, about 13. And she came back, I believe, about 2 years later and sued for custody of Julia and her sister, but not for custody of Eric.
Kroll says Eric was abandoned by his mother and raised by his father, an acting teacher in Georgia.
My mother decided that she would rather raise the girls and let Dad raise the boy.
He was a very shy kid. He had a terrible stutter, the remnants of which still remain. And his father found that when Eric was reciting poetry or something like that, the stutter disappeared.
For Eric, acting was a way out, an escape from his upbringing. Then Eric's father remarried this woman, seen in this photograph. But life didn't improve at all. It only grew more complicated.
Then I was surprised to find out that the stepmother had drowned in September of 1977, that Eric had been in the boat with her when she drowned, and that 3 months later, Walter Roberts had died of lung cancer.
At 20 years old, Eric was appointed executor of his dad's will and guardian of Julia and her sister. But Eric's mom was not about to allow her estranged son custody of her daughters.
And Betty filed against Eric, there's legal papers, filed against Eric being the guardian.
By the time Julia was old enough to be on her own, she followed Eric to Hollywood to become an actress. At first, he helped Julia out, but she was repulsed by his addiction to drugs and horrified when he tried to turn Julia against their mother. So the relationship ended.
Eric was forcing Julia to choose between the mother or himself. She chose the mother.
And when Julia married country crooner Lyle Lovett, Eric didn't get invited. Eric believed his mother was behind it and commented backstage at the 1994 Cable Ace Awards.
My mother said, I might make trouble. This is not true, Lyle. I would not have made trouble.
But last year, anger once again got Eric into trouble. He was arrested on charges he abused his wife of 3.5 years, actress Eliza Garrett.
The 911 people came to the house, spoke to Eliza Roberts, spoke to Eric, and were compelled to take him to Los Angeles County Jail.
Although the charges were dropped, the incident pushed Eric into therapy. Today, he says he's trying to heal his painful past. Eric, who turned 40 this year, hopes someday he and his sister will speak again.
He's very hopeful that in the not-too-distant future that they will repair this relationship.
And we're told that the closest Eric and Julia Roberts have come to speaking in a long time was after the Los Angeles earthquake 2 years ago. He left her a phone message asking if she was okay. She left him a message saying she was.